Welcome to the Costello Coaching Podcast, where we talk about developing the human within the athlete. My vision is to enhance people's performance in all aspects of their lives. I hope you enjoy. And we're back with the Costello Coaching Podcast, my man, Andrew Rohrbach. Today's episode is going to be very specific to the audience that we help the majority of the time, and that is a baseball audience. So the details that we're going to use are really relative towards someone going through a recruiting process within the baseball world, but it can be very applicable for anyone along the recruiting journey. So if you're trying to get a new job, if you are trying to just be seen, be heard, and want attention and recognition for what you have the ability to do, there could be value in listening to this as well. So without further ado, my man, Andrew Rohrbach.
Hey, Tommy, how are you?
Great.
Good. Yeah, we're going to talk about the recruiting process a little bit here today. And Tommy hit on it. It's really applicable to everybody, but we will be talking about specific stuff for baseball. It's what we know the best. So we'll be talking about three specific things. One is the metrics. Two is how to communicate. And three is soliciting yourself. So the first one I think we should talk about, Tommy, is metrics. And what do you mean by metrics when you put that down on paper?
Yeah, sure. So without a baseline metric, you're not recruitable. Without a baseline metric, you really aren't able to be recruited. So, for example, I could be a great teammate. I could have a great GPA. I could be a good ball player. But if I don't run fast enough, throw hard enough, and do everything exceptional in terms of my metrics, I don't deserve to, and I just won't be recruited. So the first thing that we address with all the athletes that we work with is, where are your metrics at today? And are those in a position for you to be recruited?
Yeah, that makes total sense. So for example, like you would say for a baseball player, throwing velocity would be really important. Maybe running speed, GPA, you already hit on how you communicate to coaches. But the metric you would probably talk about what would you say for a high school baseball player?
So for a high school baseball player, this is, if you were to sit down, Andrew, and you're a high school baseball player and you're wanting to work with me, what I would tell them is I'd say, first off, in your greatest world, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And they'll list off some dream schools, and they'll start listing off what I call logo schools. And side note here, don't chase logos when it comes to the recruiting process. A lot of people chase logos in life, and they end up guiding them down a path that they didn't ever intend for. They were just reaching for the logo because their friends and family felt like it was of great value because they recognized it. So go after your dreams and your mission. And that's really important for me to address here, because I always address that with people from the very start. Don't chase logos. With that being said, for someone who is a high school baseball player and they start listing off these schools that they envision themselves playing at, what I do is I say, okay, well, now let's pull up the average velocity. Say you're a pitcher. Let's pull up the average fastball velocity of the 10 pitchers that are on that roster. And they're like, well, how do we find that? I said, that's easy. There's data warehouses everywhere across the internet. Mm-hmm. So we start researching, we start figuring out what the average velocity is for those players. And then we work backwards from there, and we say, okay, how many days until you are a freshman in your first day at X school? Well, I don't know. I said, well, you're a sophomore in high school right now. It's July, and do the math. How many days do you have? I have 758 days left to do that. I said, okay, so if we built a program where you executed all these measurements day in, day out for 758 days, do you think you could be the average pitcher's, could you attain the average pitcher's velocity at that school? Mm-hmm. You know what most of them believe? They can do that.
Right.
But what happens most of the time is they do it when there's 758 days left, 757, then they miss 755, then they miss 754, then they get back on it at 752, and then 100 days go by and they're like, oh man, I had this goal. So the magic isn't in the program, or the magic isn't in the throwing velocity or the individual. The magic is in the consistency.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is if you're picking a dream school, be realistic of where you're currently at, and then where you want to go and what that kind of looks like for you and what that dream school is. Don't chase logos. Find a realistic school that you're going to want to be at, you can envision yourself being at, and be realistic at your starting point. And then how you're going to get there is figuring out your metrics, right?
Yeah. And I tend to not use the word realistic, because nothing is ever realistic or not. I mean, obviously, if you have a kid who's a senior in high school and he's throwing 75 miles an hour, yeah, you're not going to Vanderbilt. But most of the time we start this conversation around their freshman and sophomore year. And with consistency and with a baseline of athleticism, most places in the Division I baseball rankings are realistic.
Yeah.
There's going to be 4 or 5 schools in the country that maybe you have to be an absolute all-out beast, physical freak, physical phenom on every ranking board to go to those 5 schools. Mm-hmm. But you and I both know there's 80 other schools that are great baseball programs.
Right.
And where it's different is in baseball, there's 100 really good baseball programs in Division I baseball. There's 100 really good ones where professionals come out of them every single year.
Yeah.
Whereas football, basketball might be a little different.
Yeah.
Basketball, there might be, 20 elite schools that professionals consistently come out of. Football might have 30 great programs where professionals consistently come out of. Mm-hmm. But baseball is a wider range. So, a lot of times people associate the word realistic kind of being negative. Is that realistic? And as in a negative connotation, so I try not to use it. But I hear what you're saying, and you want to facilitate a conversation that is more so accomplishable than realistic.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was saying. I understand what you're saying with realistic, and I try to stay away from that word as well, because I think a lot of things are very hard to do. So realistically, I don't know where that word fits in sometimes with my my vocabulary. But to backpedal a little bit, find out our metrics. Find your metrics of where you're currently at, what you want to see in the future, where you envision yourself, and go backpedal. Find a good team to help you achieve those things, but also be realistic with what's your, if you're a pitcher, how hard are you throwing? If you want to be a doctor in life, what medical school is probably the best school to go to? How can you get into that? Because there's people that currently do that. There's people that have gotten into Vanderbilt for baseball as well as for their medical program. And they're 2 different metrics. So instead of just sitting there going, wow, LSU just won the College World Series, I want to go to LSU. It's like, yeah, of course. But how do you get into a school like that? Where do they recruit from? What are the metrics that school is interested in? And can you get there? And how do you get there?
Sure. Are you touching more on GPA?
Yeah, GPA, or even velocity, or if you're a hitter,
your exit velo,
or we're in a data-driven, we're just talking baseball-wise, but data-driven world where almost everything is calculated now, exit velo and spin rate on pitches. Like, does that school care about those things? And that data is out there. There is ways to find that information. And I think that's what you're hitting on, is it's important to have a vision and have a dream, but to also know what are the metrics that you're currently at, as well as where you need to go to get into that situation.
Exactly. And obviously my thought process for this, helping countless athletes achieve this, has been consistent, and it could seem biased because I am on the training end of things, right? So I'm always focusing on the development, whereas some coaches might say, hey, you just need to go out there and play well in front of the right school at the right time and things will happen. Sure. But if your baseline data isn't there, you have no chance. They don't even watch you.
Yeah.
If you're a pitcher, for example, and you're 80 to 81 miles an hour and you're a senior in high school and you want a SEC school to recruit you, they're not watching you.
Yeah.
Neither is a Pac-12 school, neither is West Coast Conference. Like, there's not a lot of people that are interested in a guy, or they're not interested in you if you're not above a certain data point.
Yeah, they're going to look at you and go, oh, maybe there's some projectability, and they call it not necessarily a draft and follow, but like essentially that.
That's gone.
They don't have time for that.
It's gone in the MLB too. The draft has gone from 45 rounds to 20 rounds. There is less minor league teams. They've gotten rid of rookie ball, and they've condensed the game, and it's harder to get in.
Yeah.
And it's harder to get in college. And something we'll dive into later on in this episode is the transfer portal. So now there's free agency in college baseball. So it makes it that much harder for athletes to even get into a school as a high school player, because they're not only recruiting high school guys, they're recruiting the transfer portal.
Yeah.
So people have to start to understand that, look, you're not just competing against your local high school teams that you play against. You're not just competing against the athlete that you see all the time. And you're not even just competing against high school guys. You're competing against college players for spots.
Yeah.
So if your metrics aren't on point, you don't stand a chance. So my first approach is get your metrics right.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time going to tournaments. Don't waste your time going to showcases, because what are you showcasing? I ask people that question all the time. Well, I got this showcase and I got this showcase and I got this. I'm like, dude, you throw 78 miles an hour. What are you showcasing? Are you showcasing that you throw slower than everyone else? Well, no, I have to go to get recruited. No, you don't.
Yeah, it's a good point too, because a lot of people think, oh, I just got to go to these showcases and let me spend all this money going out there and showcasing myself. When if you're not, there's this thought process of if you're not a finished product, don't even bother going out there. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think have your metrics and continue to keep pushing towards your metrics. But if you're, like you said, a senior throwing 78 miles an hour, maybe it's advantageous of you to explore like the next steps in a different way. But what I'm trying to go with is you can correct me if I'm wrong, Tommy, but these college coaches are the ones that, like the LSU coaches that you saw on TV, they're the ones going out and recruiting. It's not like a professional organization where they have area scouts, cross checkers. They don't have an entire organization of people to find.
There's 3 guys.
There's 3, maybe 4 guys going out there recruiting.
There's 3 paid coaches in Division I baseball.
Okay. So, and they're the ones that have to be all over the United States at one time to recruit you. So where I'm circling back on this is they don't have enough time, and unless you're a specific player, 6'6", who can, throws 81, but there's a lot of projectability and you're a sophomore in high school. All right, maybe they'll write your name down. But if you're out there and you're throwing 78 miles an hour and this college coach is supposed to just write your name down and, make a complete trip to another showcase to watch you play, hoping that you're now 90.
Yeah. They
don't have time for that.
They don't care. They don't care. And too many people really believe that they are specifically special and bound for this. And that's great. And they can be internally.
Yeah.
But you got to understand where you sit in the marketplace.
Yeah.
The college baseball and any collegiate sport is a marketplace, and it's professional where money is exchanged for your services. And if you're not exchanging quality services for the money, you're not getting provided anything.
Yeah.
And so your services are your data points, your metrics.
Yeah.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the show. Only way this podcast grows is if it's shared. So please share it with your friends, family, or anyone you feel like it can help enhance their performance in their life. A little karma goes a long way. Let's get back to the show. Going down the process, say your metrics are great. That's awesome. Or say your metrics are borderline, or say you start to entertain the conversations with these coaches. How do you go about it?
Yeah, there's many different ways to go about it, in my opinion. There's the NCAA has these weird rules on when you can communicate to a coach, when you cannot communicate to a coach, but that data is out there. So you can find out when those dates are so you can talk to a coach.
Yeah, regardless of it. How would you, you're on the phone with this coach. How are you going about it to make yourself a recruit?
Yeah, I think it's being pretty clear and of what your goals are, what you want out of your career as a baseball player, what you can offer, and how you go about your business. So, quote unquote, being professional, listening to the coach, hearing what they have to say about their program, because they're going to most likely talk about their program. And then they'll at some point talk about you and where they see you going in the future and what do you see out of yourself. So it's know your metrics, but also know how to talk to a coach and being professional, as well as going, hey, I can get in here. I can change this program. I believe in myself. I know what I'm doing, and I'm here to help you guys win. I want to win. I love to win. I love to play, and I love to be an athlete.
Yeah, you're spot on. What I would advise in regards to the communication process with coaches is understand that they're talking to many people. Number one is you don't have to put that much pressure on the conversation. You've already gotten to a point where you're successful and good enough at baseball that someone's willing to take the time and speak to you on the phone. So there's nothing you really have to do on that phone call that's going to make you stand out. Now, with that being said, just like you're going to make the decisions based off how those phone calls go with the coach, they're going to make decisions based off how the phone calls go with you in terms of who they're going to hand money to and offers. So if I'm a college coach and I call 10 athletes that I'm interested in it, if I enjoy the conversation with 3 or 4 of the athletes that all have similar metrics, I'm probably going to hammer home on those 3 or 4 that align with me.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the guys that I want part of my program because I get a better connection, better vibe with. Well, that doesn't mean that, players 5 through 10 aren't good players or they don't belong or wouldn't do well at the school, but it's all based off how the conversation went with the coach.
Yeah.
So a little lesson in communication, people who have the ability to communicate well are the ones who have the ability to ask great questions. So something really good for someone to do, and this is simple and should be obvious, but do the obvious and do the simple extremely well and you become unique.
Yeah.
Would be to prepare and have some questions prepared for the coach.
Yeah.
Especially if you get nervous.
Yep.
We could get on phone calls with people that we're trying to impress or we're trying to get business from or we're trying to grow towards. And it can be a little nerve-wracking getting on those phone calls. But all it takes for us to feel comfortable is a little preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Write down a few questions. Think about what you want to hear out of this guy that makes you want to go to that school.
Yeah. Like a question I always used to ask is, why did you get into coaching?
It's a great question.
It's a great question.
You get to see who they are as a person, why they do it, and you get to see if their answer is genuine or not. You could hear it right away.
Yeah. In a weird way, you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you.
100%. I'm glad you said it before me, but that's exactly right. And if you can shift your perspective to that and frame the conversation towards an interview process for them. Now, here's the thing though. Sometimes families can get a little egotistical.
I was going to say, keep the ego out of it.
Keep the ego out of it. They can get a little egotistical and think, oh yeah, I'm so great. I'm talking to 7 schools. Well, how many offers do you have?
Right.
0. So be careful with how you come across when you ask questions. But if you ask them from your heart, with your heart brain, and really understand why you're asking the questions and what you mean by it.
Yeah.
A lot of times people ask the questions to really just tell more information about themselves. That is the wrong way to go about it.
Yeah.
You should really be getting a better understanding for who the person is. You shouldn't be asking a question to tee yourself up for how great you are.
Yeah, you should talk about stuff that you're actually interested in. Like, for example,
that brings value to you. Like,
why did you get into coaching? Or what is your throwing program like? Or what is your philosophy on this? How is practice run? When do we do weightlifting? Is it morning weights? Something that's, you can get a real good idea of what the program looks like.
How much longer do you have on your contract? Do you want to be here? Is this a school that you're envisioning? What is the academic counselors like? How do the players do with school, eating, lifting, training? How does the team operate outside of baseball?
Yeah.
What's your vibe on where the program is going? You guys have been in the top 3 spots in the past year, in the past 2 years in the conference. You guys just got 3 draft picks, and there's I just saw 7 guys transferred.
Yeah. What does your depth chart look like?
Yep. And you start asking them these questions. There's so many for these guys to ask, so many questions for these guys to ask that can get you better.
Yeah.
It can give you an idea of what you would need to do to either become a better prospect for them, or give you a better idea on how you could fit their need.
Yeah.
Maybe you could share with them that, oh yeah, I mean, you saw me at this tournament and I was hitting 4th and I was a power hitter and I took all my big swings and I hit a couple home runs, but on my high school team, I actually lead off and I'm really good at bunting and I steal bases and I do that. Oh, wow. I didn't even see you as that type of player. Yeah, I actually pitched too. And I've been up to 88 off the mound and wow, your travel ball coach said you just play outfield.
Yeah. It's an opportunity for you to ask questions, just for them to ask questions to 2 people just to get to know each other.
Totally. And you don't want to overcook it.
Yeah.
People put a ton of value and I think they put too much value in what these guys have to say, when the real truth is they're taking 5 or 6 of these calls a day. And maybe they say a couple of things that just aren't completely in line with how they feel or what they truly think, but they're just facilitating a conversation. So just don't put too much weight into anything they say.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on it's more important to go to the right environment for yourself than to just go to the logo school?
Well, in regards to the logo, the reason I think that's important to me is I chose that in my career. So I committed to a logo. Now it was a great offer and it was, I really liked the recruiting coach, but I never got to know anything else about it other than the guy who recruited me, who I didn't understand, could possibly leave the job within 3 weeks. I didn't think of it that way. I didn't ask any of those questions I discussed. I just saw it as, wow, it's a Pac-12 school. We get all this cool gear. We travel the country.
Yeah.
I'm going there. And that was it.
Yep.
And that might not be what's best for your baseball career, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I didn't think about the school at all. The biggest reason, I went my freshman year to University of Washington. I transferred. I went to a junior college. And then my senior year, I transferred to a West Coast Conference School, University of Pacific, my junior year, played there my junior and senior year, graduated during COVID. That was my baseball journey in college. So I experienced getting recruited to a big school at a young age. I experienced leaving a big school and finding a junior college, playing at a junior college, trying to get recruited to a Division I school again, and then being scouted professionally out of my junior college and my second D1.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important with me internally that I share my story and I share my process with these people, because all it does is it can expedite the way that they go about it.
Yeah.
You know, my story and my journey if I can share it and articulate what happened, what transpired, and where I kind of missed, maybe that can expedite it for someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did a great job. Like, dude, I had a massive offer as a sophomore in high school. Obviously, I was doing something right.
Yeah.
My metrics were good.
Good.
My communication was excellent.
Perfect.
I knew how to solicit myself.
What do you mean by solicit yourself?
Well, when I knew what tournaments and what opportunities that I needed to go to in order to show out for the right people. Now, I missed, though, in the beginning. I felt like I needed to go to camps and I felt like I needed to do this and that because that was my sister's journey, getting recruited for college softball. But man, I didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
You know why? My metrics were so good. So I just needed to show up to a select few events where I had built a network and knew who was going to be there. And all I needed to do was go out there and perform. And after the game, talk to the coach the right way and speak to him properly on the phone, go have a visit, look him in the eye, say thank you, be genuine and gracious. And all of a sudden, everything started coming to me.
Okay. So you're saying solicit yourself, you're talking about like selling yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So would you say that having metrics and then being able to communicate to coaches are probably 2 steps before solicit?
100%. Everyone puts the
cart before the horse.
Yeah. And they go to all these events and they try to solicit the crap out of a bad product.
Yeah. It's a huge point right there.
Like, I'm going to dive into a little bit of my business first. So I did this for 3 years and I did it extremely well for 3 years. Worked on it before I ever entertained soliciting what I do. Mm-hmm. Like we built a proper website 3 years into it. We built a proper social media platforms 3 years into it. We built a podcast 3 years into it because I needed to build the product.
And what's the product?
I needed to build the metrics.
There you go.
Well, the metrics and the product is the proof that we get results for athletes and we know who we're serving, we know who we're helping, and we know exactly how to help them.
Yeah. I bet you didn't know how to do that on day one. So it would have been weird for you to start soliciting yourself on day one going, hey, everyone, I'm a pitching coach and a trainer and I've never technically done it before, but I played pro baseball a little bit and college baseball. So I know what I'm doing. Sign up for my services.
Yeah. Which is sometimes enough, but
it can be, but
it might not be the most consistent and best product.
No.
And that's why we dominate people, because we just went about the process the right way.
Yeah.
And it's from experience. We went about the process the right way, and all of a sudden, everything fell into line.
So would you say someone who's like a freshman in high school, he's a shortstop, and his dad's taking video of him at a game, that he shouldn't post it to Twitter because, you know, Twitter's baseball's universe now. A lot of coaches do recruiting on there. What are your advice for, okay, they're a freshman in high school and they're, you know, the metrics aren't exactly where they need to be. There's wiggle room within that. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay. If you're a freshman in high school, number one, they can't talk to you till your junior fall. So don't worry about it. Number two, if you start stressing out about the recruiting process that early and you're going to be too drained and not going to be able to think clearly when the process is supposed to be there.
Well, wait, Tommy, everybody's doing that. What do you mean?
Well, no one now can officially get offers from doing that.
I understand, but everyone and their mom is investing in this whole entire showcase world where they're showcasing as a freshman and sophomore in high school, maybe even 8th graders transferring or going into their freshman year.
I have a unique point on this.
Yeah. So are they going to miss out on everything?
No, not at all. But with that being said, the positive, I'll give you a positive and not even a negative, just a positive and a neutral thought.
Okay.
The positive being, if everyone's showing up to him and the best players are showing up to him, well, that's great. You're going to get an opportunity to compete against the best players, and you should see it as that. You should not visualize it as a recruiting. I'm not getting an offer. You should just see it as I'm going to play against the best players. I play baseball because I love baseball. Wherever the best players are at, I'm a competitor. Let me go compete against them. If that's the thought process, go to everything and anything you want. If the thought process is, I'm going to this to get this, you've gone wrong. Because if you're going there to get this and your metrics aren't aligned, you're not going to get it. And then you're going to be disappointed. But if you've worked for a serious amount of time and you've proven to yourself that your metrics are better than everyone else's, you go out to that event looking to get something, I guarantee you'll get something. And the challenge is people kind of try to convince themselves that they go out for both when really they're just going out for recognition.
Yeah.
Because everyone loves being looked at and valued, and everyone loves being adored and valued and empathized with. Everyone wants their emotions served and wants their instant gratification. But the truth is, you just got to keep it within baseball.
Yeah, and keep it within yourself as well. Like this, we live in a comparison world. And so with the comparison world there's some kids that are already getting ranked from Perfect Game or any of these services as the number one player in the 2030 class or whatever. I'm using that as an example, but sometimes it's a good amount of years out. And so I think that's a little crazy, but that's the world that we live in. And so these kids go out there and watch those players go to these showcases. But I think it's very interesting. A lot of those top players are very selective on what tournaments they go to, partly because I think they're already in that I'm already really good phase. But that leaves this huge drop off for the rest of the players who are not also ranked and don't have those accolades that it messes with their head and they think that they have to go and do that in order to get there.
Yeah. And in closing on this whole crazy journey, how much does any of this matter once you enter professional baseball?
None.
So it's this weird phase of life where these people enter their freshman year of high school and they go through the college journey. And for 8 years, there's a little bit of a panic association with the game. The panic of, am I good enough? Am I going to make it to college? You make it to college. Am I going to make it to pro ball? And there's this huge panic with it. And all of a sudden it stops becoming about playing baseball and it becomes more about, am I going to get to the next level?
Yeah.
And where I see it now is when I'll communicate with friends and family who have younger children, they will say, well, 10U is all about getting ready for 11U. And 11U is all about getting ready for 12U. And 12U is about getting ready for the big field on 13U. And I said, whoa. 10U is about having fun playing 10U.
Yeah.
And 11U is too. And freshman year is about freshman year. And sophomore year is about sophomore year. Senior year isn't about protecting you for the draft or getting you ready for college. It's about playing your senior year.
Yeah.
So people get so far outside the actual moment and they lose themselves in this. So all we're trying to do is equip you with some tactical information of that. First, you got to get your metrics. Second, you got to communicate well. Third, you got to know how to solicit yourself once 1 and 2 are done. We don't do 3, 2, 1. We don't do 3, 1, 2. We don't do 2, 3, 1. It's 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that's simple, but you can execute that. And when you get to professional baseball, you got guys that come from all over the world. You got guys that come from high school, college, junior college, D3, D2, D1, NAIA, College World Series champ. And so free agent, independent baseball.
Yeah, you hear about it all the time.
The recruiting process they went through in their sophomore and freshman year in high school or their junior year in high school has nothing to do with where they're at in professional baseball.
No, what matters? The metrics. A lot of the metrics, everything matters.
Because that's a real marketplace.
That's a real marketplace. You can go to a Division II baseball school, and if you're working on your metrics at D2 baseball, where no one cares about you because you're not playing Division I in their mind, but you find a way to get your metrics up to 98 miles an hour, you'll see yourself in the draft, and you'll see yourself in a professional uniform at some point.
Watch the draft here coming up. It's probably happening right now as you listen to this. You're going to see a couple names of schools that players are from. And you're going to be like, no way.
Yeah.
And the truth is they have the metrics.
Yeah.
Bottom line. So there's a ton of value in this. I know we had a conversation about it and we discussed different topics. But the biggest thing is assess where you're at within the metrics of the game in association to the other players and where the players that are currently at that place that you want to go are. And then do everything in your waking moment to get there if that's truly your goal. Next, learn how to communicate like a professional to professional people, and you'll be treated like a professional. Number 3, once you have dove into 1, understood number 2, then you can start to solicit yourself and sell yourself to these places. Because if 1 and 2 aren't enough, then you're going to need to use 3. But if you do 1 extremely well, you probably won't even need to do 2 really well. And if you do 2 really well, you probably won't need number 3. So this is a 1, 2, 3 process that we use for all of our players. And if you can execute this, I'm sure you'll be recruited and you'll get to fulfill your dreams. But it's all about understanding the process.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the show. I hope you benefited from this. Give the show a follow, share it, and comment what you'd like to hear more of so we can help more people perform in all aspects of their lives.